Hey y'all, happy Tuesday. So I am going to give everyone a chance to go ahead and come into the room so we can talk tonight. I hope everyone is doing well and having, off to a good start this week. And so I know the notifications are just going out here. So we're just going to give people just a few minutes. And make sure you let me know that you are in the room as well. Hey, Derek. That's funny. And then for some reason, I don't know why on the computer, it lags just a little bit. So it kind of takes me some time, like a few seconds to see the chat or whatever. Hey Edward, hey Abdul, hey y'all. Hope everybody is doing good. Let me go ahead and get the church announcements out of the way as y'all are coming into the room. I already told you guys I am going to be at the Solutionary Summit in Atlanta on September 12th. It is going to be really cool, filled with a firearm training. You're going to have panels. We're going to talk about all different things as relates to criminal justice reform. We're going to talk about the things going on in the media right now. We're going to talk about culture. We're going to talk about politics. We're going to be talking about a lot of things, right? So if you are in Atlanta, if you are in the area in Georgia, if you would like to fly to Atlanta, okay, their link is below in my description box. Also, I have my new merch alert. So I do have a new tee on my Shopify. I just recently started using Shopify, so I have my anti-status t-shirt over there. So if you guys would like to cop one, their link is also below. Hey Dominique, hey Penny. So y'all make sure y'all go to that link as well. And look at your girl. I thought I was out here doing something, y'all. But I took that picture when I was recently out in Virginia, so I had a good time. So those are on my Shopify. And a special thank you to my patrons for supporting my content. I know y'all see me getting out here a little bit more, getting the message out, starting to be invited places and recognized, starting to go on other people's podcasts and things like this. So you guys have been very important to that mission. So thank you so much. A special thanks to my VIP patrons, Michael Ray and Ray Ray. And so if you would like to become a member of my Patron, the link is below as well. And so y'all, hopefully everybody is keeping afloat. Maybe you're staying inside as the world burns down, or I don't know, maybe you're actually sitting at the dinner table asking your family, how was their day? I don't know. So I guess it just depends on where you are with it. And so I'm myself am over it. I am ready for November to come and go. And us just basically get this out of the way. Because if you know, like I know, which you probably do know, even though some of this, what we're seeing may be organic, I think a lot of what we're seeing is being manufactured and propped up by bad faith actors. And so we're actually going to be talking a little bit about that tonight. But let's start, y'all, with talking about, so I know most of you may have seen this yesterday. I believe this was trending on Twitter, this new number, right? That 6% of people only die from COVID. 6%. And it's funny because as this started trending, as people were talking about it, then you had all these news organizations coming back, right? Because this is what they do. Like, oh my God, don't let them get away with this information. Let us try to jump ahead of it. That's not true. Let us try to debunk this. And so that's exactly what Dr. Fauci did. So let's just take a little bit, like a little look at this article, and you guys can let me know what you think. So Fauci debunks theories, right? You gotta put it like that when people have actually read the CDC website. But okay, Fauci debunks theories of low CDC coronavirus death tolls. There are 180,000 plus deaths in the U.S. White House coronavirus advisor Dr. Fauci debunked online theories promoted by Donald Trump that the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has changed its guidance for tallying coronavirus deaths, showing a fraction of total COVID-19 fatalities. On Sunday, Twitter removed a post retweeted by Trump that claimed the CDC had quietly updated its guidelines to indicate only 6% of the country's coronavirus death toll, roughly 9,000 deaths, was actually caused by the virus. The tweet said the remaining 94 had other serious illnesses. Fauci told the ABC program Good Morning America on Tuesday that the CDC guidance last updated on August 26 indicates that other people who died from the virus, a certain percentage of them had nothing else but just COVID. However, people underlying illnesses also die from COVID-19, he said. That does not mean that someone who has hypertension or diabetes who dies of COVID didn't die of COVID-19. They did. Do y'all see what I be talking about? Do y'all see why I say you have to read? Like, people, all of us, I think, are way more smart. We're smarter than maybe we give ourselves credit for, what the media gives us credit for, what these politicians dang give us credit for. Who's going to read this and thinks this makes sense? This is why I stress read, because when we are watching television, right? I don't know if I've shared this story with you guys, and I wanted to do kind of like a not a documentary, but a long kind of format video. And I may get around to doing it one day. It just takes a lot of research and time. But I wanted to get into talking about how some of y'all may not remember and I don't particularly remember because I'm, younger than when this happened. And it may or may not be the case for you. So some of you may remember, some of you may not. But apparently before the O.J. Simpson trials, right? News actually used to just be news. That may be hard to believe, but it used to just be news. And I want to go back and do the research, find a documentary so I could show this to y'all, because I never like just saying stuff to y'all. I want y'all to know. But I'm just going to tell you this, okay? After the O.J. Simpson trials is when talk show news. I don't even think that's the way to actually say it, but it tells you exactly what I mean by it, right? That is when talk show news, where people would sit around at these roundtable discussions, try to have their standout moment, try to have the best opinion, try to persuade their audience. People were so invested watching these trials around the clock is when you started having these breakout sessions of this just very opinionated nightly news. Okay. And that basically leads us up to today, where you have people going on the news and they're basically actors. They're basically actors. Over time, I've proved this. I've shown y'all this. We've looked at different segments, how you can even tell to this point where, like, it's almost like reality TV. They're trying to have the most I got you moment. Sometimes they will say the most ridiculous things. They will say things that don't make sense. And because we're human, we're human. A lot of times we're trying to relate to the people in the TV, right? Particularly, and they've done research to prove this, particularly when we feel like we identify with them, we feel like they represent us, we feel like they're on our team, right? Like they're on the right side of whichever part of the dichotomy that we chose to fall on. Okay. And so there are all these different things, television programming, that comes into play when you are watching these news segments, right? Somebody could give you so much BS. They could tell you anything. They could pander to you. They could lie. But if they are able to appeal to your emotional sensibilities, I'm not just saying this, it has been proven. It has been proven so much so that the people behind the television networks have doubled down because they know what works. At this point, they're basically selling us a product, okay? So they know on some level if they can pander or relate to your emotional sensibilities, they can sell you, because that's what they're doing. They can sell you anything. So this is why, and this is why I have forever stressed, read it yourself, because what happens is when you read, you are smart, right? You're smart. And so when you read, you're able to decipher, like, because now you ain't got the person that looks like you. You don't have the person, saying all these beautiful buzzwords and using their talking points. And you can decipher, like, that doesn't sound like it makes too much sense, right? So even me coming back to what Dr. Fauci is saying here, Trump claimed that the CDC had quietly updated its guidance to indicate only 6% of the country's coronavirus death toll, roughly 9,000 deaths, was actually caused by the virus, according to CNN report. The tweet said the remaining 94 had other illnesses. This is what Trump says. But then Fauci comes back and basically agrees with him, saying, like, literally, it's right here. However, people with underlying illnesses also die from COVID-19. Can y'all see? I'm highlighting this. This is the same sentence said in a cuter way. So now, can we finally accept the fact that we are all saying the same exact thing? It's not different because of who said it. We are all saying that 6% of the people that died from COVID only. Yes, but 94% of the other people had underlying conditions, other serious illnesses, just like Dr. Fauci said here. That doesn't mean because they did, the other 94% had hypertension, had diabetes, had all these other things, right? And so that goes into the numbers. And the remaining, it says right here, the remaining 94% included other causes alongside COVID-19. That's what we just said. So at this point, if people cannot see, if you cannot see, if you don't want to admit, like, I am just tired of the lies. And this is where it all started. When I literally started this channel, I don't even know, 3 years ago now, maybe. I was just tired of the lies. I'm tired of trying to have to decipher through people's personalities. Like, just give me the news, just give me the truth. Leave all the theatrics for people in the movie theaters. I'm not at the movies. I don't need the acting. I don't need the theatrics. I only want just a simple, get to the bottom truth. And I think a lot of people are getting to this point where they're just tired of it. And we've seen right in front of our eyes how COVID has been used as a political pun. And it's unfortunate because these are our real lives. You have people actually being affected by this. You have people's family members actually being affected by this. You have people that have actually died about this. Yet you have dirty, nasty, wrongful politicians that will use it as a let me one up you moment. And it's wrong. And the crazy thing about it is that this is only one of the issues they do this on. Only one. We're going to talk about in a second how they're going to be doing this with the police brutality issue as well. So the truth is the truth. Like, no matter who says it, no matter like what time of the day it's said in. And people, if you actually care about the truth, I mean, I don't know. Maybe some people just don't. Maybe some people just don't. But if you do, right, you have to be aware of these things. Edward Ivy said they're playing politics with our lives. That's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. Even going further into talking about this, right? Something that your nightly news has not been talking about. A quarter of young adults have contemplated suicide during the pandemic, the CDC says. So we're going to jump down here. For example, 25.5% of young adults ages 18 to 24 said they had considered suicide in June versus 16% of respondents aged 25 to 44 and 3.8% of those 45 to 64. Other groups with high rates of suicidal ideation included essential workers. Okay, people with less than a high school diploma, 30%, Black people, 15.1%, Hispanics, 18.6%. 7.9% of white respondents said they had considered suicide, and unpaid adult caregivers, 32.9%, men, 12.6%, were more likely to have considered suicide than women, 8.9%. I don't know if people have ever told you this before, but men are highly represented in suicide numbers compared to women for whatever reason. A lot of reasons, I'm sure, right? So this idea that, like, you know, whatever this idea of men and being just so strong and this, that, and the other, are we really looking at all these other numbers that affect their lives? Okay, so going over here to the CDC, what are some of those other things that are affecting people right now? So we have people responding to how they've been affected by the virus. People are receiving increased treatments for diagnosed anxiety, depression, post-traumatic stress disorder. At the time of this survey, comparisons with subgroups are elevated using Poisson regressions with robust standards, errors to calculate prevalence ratios. I think this goes on to talk about you have emotional issues and substance abuse. That's one of the main things that I want to talk about. Substance abuse, people trying to cope with all the stress from either family members dealing with COVID, having to be caregivers, having to be essential workers, or having being disconnected from their family and friends. You have a person like me that's been traveling. I haven't not seen my grandmother, and I think it's probably been about 2 months now. Okay, you have people suffering from all these issues. What do your freaking politicians do? They use it as a political pawn. So all these increased stress disorders, and don't even get me started on the levels of abuse. You have more women and children being abused during these times, just out of simply, it could either be frustration, or I'm sure a combination of both, just even being forced into these living situations for so long at a time. Serious suicidal ideation. These are the things that people are not talking about. Why do we have a media that does not talk about things from a balanced perspective, from a nuanced perspective, talks about things in totality? All right. Even talking about things like all of the hunger. And this is one thing that I'm guilty of, because I never really, we've been so conditioned to think about ourselves and everything we kind of see in front of us. And I didn't even think about just the relationship of the United States to other countries. And you think about, exports, right? You just think about the amount of people like immigrants who send money to their respective homes, and just how we are kind of propping or helping up people in other countries. So these are just some things, y'all. These are just some things to think about when you see them using these coronavirus numbers to one up the other or discredit the other, when in fact you come back and say the same exact thing. So it's a lot going on with people on a personal level, regardless of what your media is telling you or is trying to hide from you at this moment. So Marco Ryan said, at the doctor office, the crazy nurse tried to tell me it was airborne. I told her, no, it's not. That just sounds like crazy. That just sounds like people would just be passing out like everywhere. If it was airborne. Michael Pennick said they want the truth but don't know how to get it. Do people want it? Do people want it really? Really? Do they want it? And we're going to talk about that a little bit tonight with the whole Rand Paul thing and the whole Breonna Taylor Act. Do people want the truth? I don't know. At this moment, at this point, I'm starting to have my doubts. Yeah. But so, but with this coronavirus, there has, at this point, I don't know what's going on with people if they cannot admit that the level of fear mongering has not matched the actual level of the threat. And that does not mean we disregard real people and real people's lives. It does not mean that. However, we have to take into effect just as equally all of the adverse effects of this virus, like the things I just mentioned: opioid abuse, physical abuse, substance and alcohol abuse, right? Suicidal thoughts and all these other things. So, but it's a lot. All right, y'all. So, excuse me. Be Free Die Trying said, I called my doctors to make an appointment about it because I always suffer from depression. They legit said, if you're not suicidal, just call your family doctor. I was so confused. I don't really know the logistics of how they're supposed to handle that. That does seem like kind of abrasive. However, you may have it. Well, that's debatable too. I was going to say, you may have some of these places that are overwhelmed, which you actually do have some, just depending on what's going on with their clinic, that's overwhelmed with a lot of stuff that's going on right now. We're just now starting to get some people back to the hospitals for things like their cancer treatments. And you have a lot of people trying to catch up on what they couldn't do over the last couple of months. So that's something to think about as well. But all right, y'all. So let's talk about your girl Nancy Pelosi, because I just thought this was funny and interesting. So you go to a literal press conference to say, I don't tell nobody this. This is just between, you and I. But I don't think Joe Biden should be debating Trump. So let's go ahead and take a look at this and talk about it just a little bit.
I wouldn't legitimize a conversation with him, nor a debate in terms of the presidency of the United States. Now, I know that the Biden campaign thinks in a different way about this, but I thought what he did in the 2016 was disgraceful, stalking Hillary Clinton like that. I was disappointed that the press didn't say, go back to your station. You're not here. You don't own this stage. You have your own podium. She has hers. So I think that he'll probably act in a way that is beneath the dignity of the presidency. He does that every day. But I think he will also belittle what the debates are supposed to be about. And they're not to be about the skullduggery on the part of somebody who has no respect for the office he holds. I don't think that he should dignify that conversation with Donald Trump. You can have.
So let me get this straight. You don't think that the person running for president should debate or have a conversation? How can you legitimize somebody that's already the president? Is this their strategy? Is this the strategy? Because if so, it's a losing one. And it's not the first nor the last misstep. But it should be obvious to us that they have been trying to keep Joe Biden out of the media as much as possible. When he is in the media, it's very scripted, or it's very much so with people who are not going to challenge him, like a Cardi B, and you can chop and screw the video. So there's this recent video of Joe Biden floating around on Twitter. You guys have probably seen that, and I can't find it at this moment, but it's been pretty popular. And he's kind of just rambling on about something and not really able to complete his thoughts and things like that. Initially, I was like, oh my God, the debates. I'm going to grab my freaking popcorn. This is going to be like sports, like the playoffs. You know what I mean? But the more I actually see Joe Biden in these lesser seen, I don't even think I could see lesser seen. I could more so say, it's clear that there are certain moments that they are trying to hide from us, hide from the general public. So at first I was like, it's going to be a rumble, you know what I mean? But the more I think about it, I feel like it's just going to be one old man really, really beating up on another. Unless they are able to, because these debates, these are not like short, these are like, I think at least over an hour. You don't have a teleprompter. And so if there's ever been a moment for us to kind of just really see what's going on with Joe Biden, as far as just on a cognitive level, this is going to be it. And it's no secret that they are going to try to find any excuse to keep him out of the eye of the public. And it is not going to excite people. It's not going to excite people that's on the fence about Joe Biden. She mentioned something in this clip. I didn't play all of the clip, but she mentioned something about not basically not legitimizing Trump's lies. I would assume it would be a better strategy to go show the American people that, oh, he said this was a lie. I am going to come back with this. This is my statement. This is how I respond to this. And if he, in the event he does not debate, I don't really think he has a choice. I think he has to. Because even in the event, if he tried to decide not to debate, everybody that was already pointing to the fact that he has cognitive issues would really just be like, see, can't vote for that now. And so in some ways, I kind of even feel bad for him, because like, how does your family do this to you and put you up to this and allow you to be, to just even see you to this extent? We've seen certain moments where he would be in public and it's like his eyes are almost glossed over, like he's not even there. And so I would assume that maybe he's on some type of medication that is helping him function in other aspects, right? And on those other times where we see he's a little bit more upbeat, he's more responsive and things like this. And so imagine coming on TV and telling people that you don't want the person that you want them to vote for to talk to the person that you want them to vote against. And then you say this live at a press conference, which is bold, right? And so recently, I've been talking on Twitter a little bit about this whole law and order message, right? That Trump is doing, and Trump is trying to push this idea that Joe Biden is like super progressive and he's super radical. And if he just comes on TV and condemns the riots, they'll stop. This is also marketing, okay? This is also marketing. Progressives hate. I can tell these people, and I get it, right? Because it gets your base going. It's like, oh, that'll move them. If I tell them the other people are super radical and coming to get you, and all these things you have to do, right? It's like this us against them, and I'll be the one to save you. However, Joe Biden not condemning these riots early on, we all know there was a political move. However, to think that these rioters actually care any freaking thing about what Joe Biden has to say, you are sadly mistaken. To think that progressives actually think that Joe Biden is progressive, you are sadly mistaken. Progressives probably hate Trump and Joe Biden equally. Probably, honestly, even Joe Biden a little bit more, because he has the bigger impact to impede the progressiveness that is supposed to be happening in that party. So they are all talking points. So, this idea that, oh, well, if he just doesn't debate, no, you actually need him to debate, because at this point you have so many people that are pulling away from the party. They're super disappointed. A lot of people see how Bernie was cheated in 2016. I don't know if you want to say he was cheated this time around, or he bowed out, or he sold out, or whatever you want to call it. But we saw a very deliberate push from mainstream media to push Joe Biden to the front. We can't sit here and deny this. We can't. It's just the honest truth. And a lot of people see it for what it is, and they don't like it. Nobody's talking about meddling anymore. Nobody's talking about Russia anymore. It's funny because what's even more frustrating, they spent, you and I, all of our taxpayer dollars. Nobody even mentions impeachment anymore. Nobody. Has anybody noticed that? Has anybody noticed that? Nobody's talking about impeachment anymore. Also, I don't hear anybody talking about Russian meddling, right? And I think it may have been mentioned maybe once or twice here recently, but it hasn't been a thing, just an ongoing thing in the media like we saw before. Was Russia held to some type of standard that will make them want to change their mind or not meddle this time? Like what happened? What happened? I guess it's just we never get the follow-up stories, or they say a little bit of this and it kind of dies out. And they think we just will forget. We'll forget. It's going to be so funny to me. I'm just waiting. It's funny because they know, the media knows that they can't do their gun control push as hard right now. They can't do it as much because of everything that's happening. I find that so interesting. And I want to see, just for my own amusement, I want to see how much longer it's going to be before they jump into that narrative again, and how soon. I want to see this work in real time, the programming, the propaganda. I want to see how quickly they can go from particularly Black people becoming one of the biggest gun owners, big representation of gun owners here recently during the COVID pandemic and the lockdowns. I want to see how quickly they're going to go from these numbers, everything that's happening right now, not really talking about gun control because it would be very unpopular to do at a time where we're seeing so much crime. We're seeing, heightened levels of crime. You may or may not know this because your TV may not tell you this either. But when you have 20% of people, I think it was 20% last time I checked, or nearing 20% out of work, okay? You literally have so many people out of work. Yes, your crime is going to increase. That is this is like a cause and effect type thing. So I just want to see the programming in real time from my own curiosities, how quickly we will go from what we're seeing now to what event is going to spark that. Oh, we need gun control again. We got to take the guns. We got to, and I don't know if you guys saw the video. I recently shared it on my Instagram. If you are not following me on Instagram, you should be. But I shared this video on my Instagram, RhondaMary Vids, where you had this lady being raped in NYC in broad freaking daylight. Imagine the gall to rape someone in a subway, middle of the day. People are walking through there, right? And if you know anything about New York has some of the highest, some of the worst gun control, nearly impossible to protect yourself with the firearm there. And these are things that people are going to start to notice as some of these things increase. People are, like I said earlier, if you weren't here earlier in the live, when you have things like opioid abuse increasing, you have substance abuse, you have, physical and domestic violence, you have suicidal thoughts increasing. Okay. That is gonna, what do people think that's gonna manifest into? When people are depressed and out of work, you think they care about you or what you have going, especially putting that on top of the mental issues that a lot of like this generation already deals with, and then you throw this on it. This was just a freaking volcano waiting to erupt. Jupiter Black said, I feel like Biden's family is degrading his legacy more by going through this futile election. Thank you, Jupiter Black. So, one thing about it is that in some ways it is kind of degrading his legacy, and that really kind of even depends on what kind of legacy you even think he has in the first place. But what I would say is interesting about that is that the media has a interesting way of how they're able to flip the way they try to make us remember people, right? They've done this when John McCain passed. They also recently, even though George Bush is still living, they recently done this with him cozying up to Michelle Obama and things like this. And so to some extent, I don't think to some people it's even going to matter. It's going to really be about how the media flips it and portrays him, in those ending days. But introvert, I cannot repeat that, but I get where you're going with your comment, okay? But so we'll see what happens. If there'll be a debate, we'll see how that goes. You guys know I will definitely, absolutely have to cover that with content in some regards, but like I said, I really think it's going to be one old man beating up very badly on another, unless they hype Joe Biden up on just, a lot of drugs that's able to just help him, focus for that time. But we'll see what happens. Thank you, Livy Basie. All right, y'all. So let's jump into this last topic because I just had to address this, right? Because this is one of my biggest things when I'm talking about people being on a hamster wheel, being on a roller coaster, kind of just pissing in the wind, don't know if they're going or coming. Because in my head, I try my best to think about solutions because I don't like dealing with things emotionally for a long time. I don't like it. I will remove myself from the situation. I say, how can we fix this? What can we do? and then it's like, oh, you still on that? I got to move on, right? And so this is kind of just me, I guess, to some extent being me. And I just be trying to understand people so I can get it. And not feel so left out of the conversation and what's going on. So anyway, let's go ahead and take a look at this video. I'm sure most of you already seen this, how Rand Paul was basically whatever words you want to use approached by protesters.
We have Rand Paul here in downtown Washington, D.C., just getting out of the Republican event at the White House, with Trump accepting the nomination for the Republican Party for the 2020 election. He is surrounded by a crowd of protesters here, as well as this line of Washington, D.C. metropolitan.
All right, so y'all kind of see what's basically like going on here. Sorry. Y'all basically see what's going on here. Let me actually fast forward it because this part was a little bit more tumultuous as he began to actually walk through the crowd. All right, so you can kind of see that there, and you got kind of get an idea of what is going on. Now, the interesting part about this, and I've said this oftentimes, is that a lot of people don't know what's going on in their government. They don't know what's happening unless one of their favorite commentators or their favorite, entertainers just happens to speak out about it. A lot of people emotions are being swayed one way or the other. And this is a lot of times for other people's political gains. And so whether people realize it or not, when chaos ensues, you have a lot of people who are able to now do press releases, sell their books, go on tours. They may step in and be like, oh, I'm the one. I'm the magical person that could save you from this, or whatever the case may be. The most convenient or non-convenient thing about this is that Senator Rand Paul is actually the person who wrote the Breonna Taylor, Justice for Breonna Taylor Act, okay? This is to actually address no-knock warrants. And so for people in the crowd to even assume that he doesn't even know their name, this is someone that sat on a Senate panel. I should have had this video pulled up. Sat on a panel and said to Congress members, like, yes, Black Lives Matter. They absolutely matter. And this is why we need to address this, then the other. And we also need to see what is going on in these cities that's happening, that's making people feel like their lives don't matter. He said this. Has your nightly news shown it? I mean, it depends, right? It depends on the narrative they're trying to push. What's so frustrating to me about this is I've talked about this so many times. You have people that they'll show the frustrations, they'll show the chaos, they'll show all these other different things. They will talk about it, they will sell books about it, they will try to get their Twitter algorithms going about it. However, when you have senators sitting here talking about actual legislation, nobody freaking talks about it. I recently showed y'all just weeks ago, there was actually a hearing about qualified immunity. Who was talking about it? C-SPAN. So don't be mad at me. Don't be frustrated with me when I feel some type of way about your freaking entertainers that say, oh, we want to highlight these issues. We want to highlight these issues. So your biggest mission is to highlight the same exact issues that we have been talking about even longer since Kaepernick kneeled. This is not, we are here again. The roller coaster went whoop. This point on the roller coaster is when Kaepernick kneeled. It's funny because the roller coaster came around, and to the day when Kaepernick kneeled is when the NBA decided to do their walkout. Do we really? Oh, it's just a coincidence. Really? Really? To the day? Really? Coincidence? Just haphazardly happening. You know, the stars just happen to line up that way. Do we really believe that? So here we are. Kaepernick, bam, however many years later, I think it's 4. Kaepernick to the NBA, right? And you have LeBron James kind of being the biggest voice for some of the things he's recently seen wearing his vote or die, right? Oh, that's so like early 2000s. Oh my God, like get in style. You know what I mean? But this is why I have a problem, right? And people will say, well, oh, you know, you can't hold them to that standard. Why not? Why not? When an organization like the NBA will spill millions on marketing, painting Black Lives Matter on the freaking basketball court, buying jerseys, doing everything else they're doing. They'll say the word change, right? Change and hope, because these are cute words. If you were here earlier, I talked about like them trying to appeal to our emotional sensibilities, right? Change. It's time for a change. I think LeBron tweeted that. But yet you don't focus on the actual change. Nobody cares. Even when they talk about it, it's in very elusive terms. You don't hear your faves saying things very specific, like ending qualified immunity, ending no knock warrants. You have legislation right now, sitting in the House. No energy being drummed up around it, just a lot of chaos that is going to get us here if we're not careful, 4 years again. I've talked about this. I was on a podcast last night with Edgar from for Everyone. We talked about how this is actually advantageous for everyone. Everyone. First of all, because I'm sure everybody's tired, emotionally tired of doing the same thing over and over again. It's the same thing. It's the same issue. How can you highlight something bigger than what Kaepernick did? How? What more is there to highlight? Right? So not only that, it's a huge burden. It's a huge burden on the taxpayers, the millions that are paid out to victims every year of police brutality. We have a constitutional, we have things that basically go against the Constitution. This is why Senator Rand Paul, a Republican, is actually one of the ones writing the legislation to address this. Because it becomes, okay, is this a privacy issue? Right? Nobody talks about nobody talks about the actual legislation. We don't talk about it. I always talk about how important energy is. Imagine, right? Imagine if for the same, your favorite entertainer, whoever that may be, and I just use LeBron because the media is doing it, right? They highlight him, so we're gonna talk about him and address this. But whoever your favorite media personality is, right? Imagine if you use all that collective energy, because energy translates, it manifests into something, okay? It can manifest into chaos, it can manifest into change, right? But you need solutions for change. So just imagine, y'all. Just daydream here. With I guess I'm an optimist, okay? You know what I mean? I believe in stuff like unicorns and aliens. So, just daydream with me a little bit. Just imagine if your favorite, whoever that person may be, instead of drumming up all this energy that has actually no end, no significant, y'all know what I'm trying to say. To say, okay, like we've reached this goal. This is what we want. They stopped using all these elusive terms and were very specific. Let's say your faves drummed up that energy to say, all right, this is what we're focusing on. This is the bill that we want to see passed, and we want to see it passed this way, and this is what we want in it. Now, these hundreds of thousands of people that have been protesting can come together for a common goal, invest all of their emotional energy into this. They can call their senator. They can tweet about it, hashtag about it, post about it, drum up all this energy. The bill goes to the House or is in the House, and you call up your congressperson and you say, even if the House passes it, right? You call up your senator, that's not good enough. It's not good enough. We're still talking about this. We want more. These are our demands. These are the things we want to see. Then that bill works its way back to the House. They add the things you want, go back to the Senate, and the president signs this because we all just want to move past this. We want it to be over. We want less interactions with the police. We want more freedom. We want more representation of the actual Constitution and people getting their constitutional rights. We want less of a burden on the taxpayer. This works for everybody. So if each of your faves focused on that, manifested that, brought that energy together, we wouldn't have to have this conversation again in 4 years. However, do you know what happens? Instead, your fave speaks in very open-ended terms that nobody knows what the heck they want or what they want to see. And police brutality. Love us. We scared. And people in Congress who have no actual pressure to respond to one thing, you not making them respond to this specific legislation. You just make them say Black Lives Matter. Say her name. Oh, well, shoot, I can put on a dashiki. I can do that for you. How many times you want me to say it? Nothing gets fixed. Nothing is handled. Here we are again, 4 years later. What do people not understand about that? Some of these people's interest is to not fix this. Because, once again, like I've said, when people are not on them about a specific thing, just imagine. And I may give them a little slack, right? Because Rand Paul had the mask on. I may give them this amount of slack, okay? But just imagine that people were actually asking him, what do we got to do to get this law passed? How long is it going to take? What can we do to get this added in there? What can we... No. Emotionalism, hashtags, talking points is all we want. Because you saying her name is enough for us. So until people can get their politicians, man, just imagine, like, I'm not even joking, y'all. Just really think about this. Sit with this. Just imagine, instead of a LeBron, and like I said, I'm using him for this specific reason because he's been in the media. But imagine LeBron, instead of saying, we need a change, literally doing a press conference, going on TV saying, y'all, it is this senator right now. Right? And it's a couple of things going on in Congress. I think you have the ending qualified immunity. That was happening with Justin Amash. You had Tim Scott with the ending or banning chokeholds, if I remember correctly. And then you have Senator Rand Paul. Like, how many people know this? Has TMZ told you this? Has the Shade Room told you this? Right? But then you have Senator Rand Paul, like we talked about. Ending qualified immunity. Those are 3 things right there. Pick one. He goes on TV and say, y'all, it is this guy. We have to get behind this. We have to support this. We have to talk about this. We have to add to this or take away from this, depending on what we want. Somebody was in my DM the other day talking about, why you so hard? Why you got so much pushback for the Democrats? Why you think? Why you think? Tell me why you think. Kamala Harris can go on here with the verses. I don't know if y'all caught that or not. I caught a little bit of it. This verses. Monica versus Brandy, right? 1.1 million viewers. Highest rating versus. She goes on there in her Howard t-shirt and talks about how important voting is. She doesn't go on there and say, I know y'all are in the streets. I know you are frustrated. You're tired. Everybody is tired of this issue. Some of you have been affected by this, by your small business or your community being burned down. There is a bill in legislation right now. Call your freaking senator. Call your senator. She can't do that. She can't do that. Even though our real lives are in this, our real lives are being affected, like people are experiencing these things, she can't say that. You know why? Because it's not a political advantage. If that politically doesn't help you as a person, if it doesn't directly impact or affect your political aspirations, you won't do it regardless of how it affects real people. This goes straight back to the thing I was saying with COVID. If you don't give a crap about the amount of people that's dying, the amount of people that are being affected, if you cannot use this as a political pun to your advantage, they have shown us time and time again, they do not care about the people unless it favors them in some type of way. And it's not always just Democrats. You have a lot of politicians that do that. And it's funny because the three people actually working on bills to address police brutality, the three people authoring these bills are Republican. Is the media telling you that? Is the Shade Room telling you that? Is TMZ telling you that? Is your favorite celebrity gossip site telling you that? I only care about truth. I only care about moving forward solutions, getting past some of these issues. This is why I talk about holding people accountable regardless of these letters beside their names. This is why I talk about supporting things that will be advantageous to all of us regardless of who it is. Supporting it regardless. Do people actually care? Do people actually want to move forward and pass these things? Because if you did, it would look like it. Your actions would speak to that. If I'm not mistaken, you do have Democrats co-authoring those bills with Tim Scott and Justin Amash. However, those are the leading names on these bills. That may or may not matter to you, but the action, getting something moving behind them, should matter to everybody. It can no longer be a problem when you start taking this ball out of people's court. Let's lessen some of these interactions that people have to have with police in the first place. That is helpful to everyone. And when I say that, let me be very clear. I've talked about this before. If this is your first time watching or clicking in, I want to be very clear. Some things, it's just not a crime. And these things, who they may be a crime to, it's a waste. It's a waste on taxpayers. It's a waste on people, just a lot of people. So that goes from whether we're talking about if your tent is too dark, whether they find out that you are catching rainwater in your backyard, whether you decided to walk up your sidewalk or into a store without a mask on, and now you got to worry about the police trying to fight you over it. Several things, right? Even if we want to talk about marijuana and these small levels of marijuana that people have, and the burden, more of a burden that it's been, right? And it's heavily increased the prison population. And every single one of those encounters, every single one of them, every single encounter that you have increases the chances of escalation. And so if we can decrease those encounters by things that actually align with the Constitution, right? These things actually align. How is that not helpful to everybody? So these are things we have to think about. These are why I talk about these things. This is why I talk about solutions, because a lot of people are so hung up in the anger hamster wheel. And whatever, if you're angry, be angry. However, if you don't find a way to deal with it directly, you are going to be here in 4 years again. We're all going to be here. And I haven't even been on this earth long enough to be as tired as I am of some of these same issues that fixing them, I feel like could just, and we could do that. We could do that if we talked about it in very specific terms without all the pandering, without all the pretty words, without all the diatribe, right? Without all the theory. So I just think it's super interesting and it's super telling the moves that people are making or are not making in light of what everything is going on, right? So I talked about LeBron and things he could do to address this, and Kamala Harris and things she could do to address this, and then the people that were actually at the protest screaming at Rand Paul the things they could do to actually address this. These are actual solutions in real time. I don't know if that counts for anything. You know, I'm just a dreamer. And so, but all right, y'all, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm gonna keep my eye on these bills. I don't think most of them have even gotten much traction. I think one may have made it. It was voted down. I think Tim Scott's bill was voted down. I can't remember if it was the House or the Senate. I can't remember off the top of my head. But I'll kind of be keeping an eye on these things as we move forward. And we'll see. We'll see what happens, but it's being a lot of deliberate things done here. A lot of deliberate things done here to keep people in a very repetitive cycle. And when you just become okay with that, when you become okay with the emotional abuse and the manipulation, I have to check out. And then that just becomes weird to me. It just becomes weird to me. It's like a very abusive relationship that a woman just keeps coming back to this man that is just abusing her. That's a perfect example, right? Because she'll come back with her black eye and he'll say these little sweet nothings. He'll say these little sweet nothings in her ear. You know, they'll be on the upside for a couple of weeks, maybe a couple of months, and then bam, there you are again. So, but you know, those are my thoughts about everything going on. And I just can't believe, man. I just can't believe some of these things. To me, some of it just seems like a freaking no-brainer. And then I watch the people that are supposed to be authority figures. I watch how they respond. And I'm like, what am I missing? What am I not seeing here? So it's just getting weird. And don't even get me started on a lot of these protesters who are most likely being, I don't want to say either paid possibly or amplified or, you know, in some ways to do so. But if people are just being led by the mob, you're being led by the media, you're being led by your emotions and not thinking about real time, real life, tangible, inked on paper solutions. What are you doing? But all right, y'all. Thank y'all for joining me tonight. Again, I want to thank my patrons. Thank you so much. If you would like to become a member of my Patreon, that link is in my description box below. The special thanks to my VIP patrons, Michael Wright and Ray Ray, for sponsoring my Hey Y'all Tuesdays. Oh, and I forgot, y'all. I've been talking so much. Hey, y'all. I also have my Hey Y'all mugs now, which are on my Teespring store. So if you would like one of those, make sure you grab one of those. Those are also in the description box. But okay, guys, y'all have a good Tuesday night. Have a good rest of your week. We will most likely be catching up soon. All right, bye.